I've never had the muscle. I've never craved the muscle. I think I definitely grew up in the skinnier is better kind of mentality. We're living in a great time. Like, I don't ever get discouraged. I just am like, hey, this is another hurdle. This is another thing my body's learning. I feel stronger and stronger. I feel healthier and healthier. As we age, obviously we lose more muscle, more bone mass. That's the other thing that the scale did not have to work out that much to get results.
A little interruption before we get into today's episode. So I run these shows ad-free. We will never take on sponsors because everything is self-funded through our Fit Vegan coaching program. So if you enjoy this show, the best way to support is obviously to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you know anyone over the age of 50 that is looking to improve their body composition, combat sarcopenia, combat osteoporosis, and simply want to get healthier on a whole food plant-based lifestyle, simply send them our way over at fitvegancoaching.com. We're the best in the world in helping people over 50 transform with over 1,100 transformations from 20 different countries. In addition to that, a percentage of our profit monthly goes towards supporting cancer patients with their treatments, bills, and whatever they may need to support themselves and their family. So you're also supporting additional people outside of the work that we do in the program. That's all I have for you today. Enjoy the episode. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Maxime Sigouin Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. We have Tanya here joining us. Had an incredible success story in our coaching program, and we're going to be diving into how the transformation went for her, her journey, the ups and the downs, and how she overcame them. And then we met in also the coolest place possible on a cruise ship in the midst of the Caribbeans, and I think Mexico, and I can remember Jamaica and all those fun places. So Tanya, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and share your story with people because, as you know, we've coached a lot of people in the program, but some people are a little bit more reserved or maybe don't feel that their story might be as impactful as they think it's going to be. And so I always tell them, like, there are going to be thousands of people that are going to relate to your story specifically because we're all somewhat common to a certain extent with the things that we kind of struggle. And maybe you've used some tools or strategies to overcome some of those challenges and that, potentially might be helpful for other people listening. So very excited to dive into it. Before we do all that, do you mind kind of giving a background to people so that they can understand that you have a life outside of working out and meal prepping and that you have other obligations besides working on getting fit all the time?
Well, healthy is my lifestyle for sure. I had a health challenge about 13 years ago, and that is what encouraged me to really dial things in. Backing up, I always was definitely health focused, health minded. I was a hairstylist, kind of worked in more of that organic essential oil type world for 30 years. So I was helping people one-on-one. And then when I became ill, I went more holistically to heal because working with my own hair clients, I kind of saw their journeys and saw how, maybe some of what they were going through wasn't going to work for me. So I didn't want to keep digging deep and find out that maybe that wasn't the case, that I'd have to test and not get results and not know exactly what was going on. So, found a holistic provider and, really had to, it comes down to, yes, I had to go whole food plant-based. I mean, when you have a lot of issues going on in your body, you're having to learn a lot of diving deeper yourself, trying to learn. And 14 years ago, the gluten awareness was arising, the GMO awareness was arising, the organic awareness was arising. So I did find that I was actually creating more illness in my body by putting dairy and gluten in my body. I have huge sensitivities to those. So in saying that, once I started feeling better and better, I wanted to start helping more people because it was just something that I knew people were struggling with, and it was becoming more and more. And then in that, it can be a little isolating in that you can't eat out in restaurants. I was also allergic to many foods and preservatives. So it's hard, when if you're shopping in the grocery stores, the ingredient lists are long, and I was just sensitive to everything. So Yeah. So jumping ahead quite a few years, I just decided that I loved food. I love making food. I love sharing food with people, creating my own little unique versions of something that's not so healthy into a healthier treat or pie or whatever. And then, I just said to my husband, I think I'm ready to make a change and help people more in the food industry. So we ended up opening a cafe, a plant-based cafe, and just helping inspire people. A lot of people were like me, they couldn't eat out. So I wanted a safe place for people with allergies. So we're mostly allergen-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, organic, plant-based, soy-free, egg-free. We do use a lot of nuts, but we are able to do a lot of customizations for people. So that is where my love of the foods come in. I really enjoy learning about like how do blueberries support the body? How do spirulina support the body? And then when people have a lot of sensitivities, I can create like the perfect superfood smoothie or smoothie bowl, or because a lot of people can go into restaurants or cafes and sometimes they can't eat anything, even if it is a health-based place. And I've been there. So there's nothing more gratifying to me than having somebody come in and say, I can't. I'm like, no, let's settle down. Let's just talk through this and I'll help you and we'll make something. And to see their smiles when they leave, or to have children come in and just know that they can have anything. And it just brings an emotional well up to see that you've been able to help somebody through something that is a really hard journey. And it can be really, really challenging to be out there amongst your family, your friends, and not everyone always understands that journey of trying to just keep yourself healthy and alive sometimes.
And I feel like that's a lot of what brings people to this lifestyle is starting to deal with some, illnesses or allergies or things like that. Are you comfortable sharing what you were dealing with, just so people can kind of have a bit more context?
Yeah. Sometimes I block some of it out because it's been a while, but I was having a lot of stomach pain. I was losing weight, brain fog, not sleeping much at all, massive anxiety, like panic attacks that were making me go feel numb in my face and my arms. I was consuming a lot of alcohol at that time, so that doesn't help anything. But I think, the gut health I had leaky gut. We found the Lyme's in my system, the Lyme's disease. Of course, the candida's off. I was very malnutrition. So because I had such bad leaky gut, my stomach was not absorbing any nutrients. And that's why I was losing so much weight. So I was also doing some marathon training at the time. I was more on the start of a half marathon training. I wasn't into the full marathon trainings yet. But, when you start those journeys too, you're going to lose weight. So I just assumed that I was losing weight because I was training. But as it turned out, once I was able to find out what I was sensitive to and how I could, support my body. And, when you find out you're allergic to most of what you eat, you're like, how do I even go about this? What do I do? So you got to dive pretty deep, pretty fast into how am I going to get nutrients in my body? And that's where some of the smoothies came in really handy, because you can pack a lot of nutrients into a smoothie. Your stomach doesn't have to digest that. And, from the powders to the supplements to I've lived on a lot of supplements and I still have to. I think I just had enough damage in my gut that it still needs some support, but I do great. I don't deviate. Just having to dissect, take apart, keep testing. Of course, my adrenals were shot and my cortisol was off and everything that goes with that. But when the gut's off, the brain is off. So I was dealing with some depression, with some, just a lot of ick. And, once I found out what my body was struggling with, looking back at childhood, I realized I was sensitive for sure to dairy and didn't know it. We live in a dairy state. Everything's about cheese and creams and whatnot. I wouldn't say I ate a lot of dairy, but it's in everything here. It's hard to avoid. When I look at the symptoms, some of the minor things that dairy can cause, from clearing your throat to having your nose just constantly run, to having those little eye boogers, to earwax, to, it just goes on. And it was like, we all chalk that up to normal in life because that's what you always live with. But, get all that out of your diet and it's all gone. It's incredible.
Yeah. You made me think I haven't had eye boogers in a long time. Think about it.
I know. No, you don't wake up with them. You're not. I mean, I had seasonal allergies. I had pet allergies. I was on allergy meds for 20 years, and I was taking them more and more and more, knowing I was hopefully trying to like reverse all these allergies that was going on. But as it turned out, it was all the foods I was eating. So, and then it turned into a ton of food allergies. And that was what finally I was getting hives on my lips, hives under my eyelids. Just weird, a lot of joint pain. When I was pregnant, when I look back, I had a pretty rough pregnancy, and not in a scary sense, but more just like my body did not like being pregnant. It swelled up. It was so sore. My joints were awful. I was exhausted. And then when I had a few Lyme's flare-ups, I was like, this is how I felt when I was pregnant. So I had this comparison, which I know comparing isn't great, but I had two other women that were pregnant at the same time as me, literally a month, 2 months ahead of me. And they were just carrying a bump. And I was like, I am carrying the weight of the world. And I couldn't hardly work. I had to sit with my feet up because I was so exhausted and so sore. I had to put shoes on in the middle of the night to walk 10 steps to the toilet because my feet hurt so bad. I had to wear wrist guards to sleep at night because my wrists hurt so bad. So now I know what I know. My body was in this huge inflammatory state. And I mean, my child inside of me was really good to me, but my body was fighting. My toenails tried falling off after I gave birth. My teeth all shifted. It was not the best.
Sounds like a rough time. Yeah, it sounds like a rough time.
Enough that I really didn't care to do it again.
Was there any other changes that you made besides going whole food plant-based? It seems like potentially there'd be like an element of stress that would have need to like potentially been handled to kind of help alleviate in addition to the whole food plant-based.
Yeah, I did a lot of different types of therapies. I started with the gut. I started with, some detoxing, gut, more mindful walking. Every time I did something, it was like full force, go all out. Although with my naturopath, I do have to say, I said to her after I learned all this, one thing I learned was symptoms. Symptoms are signals that something's going on in the body. Even the littlest whisper, like we have to listen to that. And then I said to her, in all the marathoning, walking, and I was always a big walker. I was like, as much as it's probably hurting me, I bet that helped keep my circulatory system going, and it kept my mental state going. And she's like, yeah, because that was what I used as a stress reliever. And, it scares me to think how far, if I didn't change something, what would have happened. And as you start to learn that and you realize, down the road is worse depression, worse, then you're on medication. And then are you, maybe committed to a mental hospital, or do you end up with cancer or dementia, or, there's just so many things that come with it. And that's what hurts my heart because I know that, it's not simple and it's not easy, but it's not hard. It can be helped and fixed by finding the right people. So a few years into that journey, I found more energy work, and that really, and I think, sometimes things that happen in your childhood and stresses that you carry on also create illness in the body. There's a perfect storm of things. It's not just one thing, but,
for sure.
As I learned some of that energy work and some of those other detoxing modalities, then I started to heal even more. So I think I didn't even learn about those things because they would have not worked for me at the beginning. I had so much physical healing that needed to happen first before some mental healing had to go on.
Yeah, you need to be ready. And it always feels like it happens at the right time whenever it comes into your life. Yeah. So you had this, kind of this beautiful journey of healing that led you to start this cafe, which also for the people, because people always ask, like, where's the link? I'll put it in the description so you can go check out her cafe. So you went into basically being more of service to others in this space to serve other people that were, potentially in the same situation as you, and where it would be really challenging to eat out. And I can imagine, where you're living is probably a lot harder to find, plant-based whole foods compared to like me living in LA or being in different cities. So I'm sure people really appreciate being able to have that option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a blessing. A lot of people are like, thank you so much for being here. It's amazing how often we hear that 6 years later.
Yeah. And so from obviously being in the cafe, let's transition to how you ended up on the vegan cruise where we met, and then you and Ivy trained and you kicked Ivy's butt.
Well, it was quite a few years before I just saw an Facebook ad that talked about it, and it'd pop up year after year, and I would look at it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I traveled a lot before the cafe. I had more free time. And my husband and I hadn't traveled for a while. And I, year after year, I'd say, oh, someday. And so we have not traveled like we used to. And finally, I was like, what do you think about this cruise? He's like, let's do it. Since I started the cafe, he's always been very supportive. He's always been understanding of what I need to do, and he'll do it with me. Just in far as eating or healing, or he's on board. He sees the difference. He sees how impactful it's been, and he has felt how impactful it's been for himself too. So it was kind of neat because once we got started and he encouraged me to start the cafe, he said, yeah, let's go. Let's see what this is about. Now, ironically, in the last few years, I don't have as much time to listen to podcasts and do a lot of digging and reading. And, that was all kind of previous. But in the meantime, now his health journey of just learning more and being more exposed. So when he saw the lineup of people, he's like, oh, all these cool educators are going to be on there. And I was like, okay, I'll join the journey. I'm sure. I wasn't afraid. I mean, I knew it was going to be up my alley. So so we just decided to sign up, and it was way more than I ever could have imagined. At first I was worried about the expense, but the amount of education you got for that expense was priceless, and it was worth, the education was way more than the cost of the cruise, because there was just so many amazing people and companies and journeys that, in the end, it really inspired me. So then I met you, and I was in Robert Cheek's class the day before. Had no idea. I mean, I really, truly had no idea who any of these people were, any of you guys. And then I did your class. I came alone the next day. My husband had never tried Qigong, and I've done Qigong a few times. So he wanted to try that. So I said, well, I'll go to this other class. And I didn't read the little part saying you needed a partner. So I got hooked up with your wife.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I felt like we kind of hit it off. I didn't try to kick her butt. I was thinking, here I'm hooked up with this fitness woman, and she's all amazing, and I got to try to hold my own here. So yeah, it was fun. Then unfortunately I got hurt the next day. I twisted a disc in my back, tweaked a disc in my back, I should say. So that was kind of the end of my fitness journey on the cruise. But as things happen, I was supposed to be slowing down, and I wanted to do it all. And most of my customers told me, you better slow down and take a rest. They tell me that often, because it
was a sign for you.
It was. After I got hurt and I got over the pity party, I said, I get it. I got to slow down and take a deep breath and just try to actually be on vacation too. So not to say we couldn't still sit through classes and watch and learn and eat all the amazing foods. I wasn't stuck in bed.
Yeah. And it was a lot of classes. It was like 2-3 per morning for the whole crew. Yeah. So it's definitely, you could always be busy if you wanted to, but it was definitely nice to have those moments and relax. Yeah. And it seems like you had a little sign of like, hey, just pull back a bit, enjoy the cruise and listen to the talks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ivy had a blast working out with you. She was like, damn, she's really strong, because you guys were creating resistance with the towel, which she had a blast training with you.
Well, and ironically, I only had joined the gym like at the end of January, and then the cruise was mid-February. So I really had never been in a gym. I've never worked out in a gym. My marathon training is literally hit the road and go as fast as I can. And I'm more of an endurance person. I'm not fast, but turn on music that'll keep my footsteps, the beat going fast. And I can go forever as far as time goes. It's just, I can't get too much faster, but I have to say I'm faster than I used to be after all this
Good.
amazing journey.
Well, there's I always say this, I'm not fast, but there's a thing, you can either be fast or you can run for an absurdly long time that most people would give up at that point. And that's a different skill in and of itself to be able to have that injury. It's not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, because there's pain, it gets boring after a while too. So it's a different set of skills to be able to do that. So I did not know that was your, you were just into your introductory phase of strength training by the time you got to the cruise.
Yeah, very.
So I'm curious as to then what made you decide to join and kind of take on this journey of strength training and body recomposition more aggressively than what you were used to before?
Well, I hate to use excuse, but we hear it so often, the 50-year-old menopausal stuff starts to happen and catch up with you. And it was with me also. I was working a lot. My hitting the road was a little bit less and less. And just the amount that I was doing wasn't equaling out to my body keeping up with that anymore. As far as, I don't know, I guess to me it was like gaining weight, but maybe I've learned now more it was just losing muscle. So I feel like I've learned so much in this journey that I wasn't even understanding before. And we joined the gym. The gym in our area had offered a trial. They came in and said, hey, would you like to, come, you and your employees, we can give you a month trial. And I said, sure. I needed a few months because we were moving. And then I was ready to start it in January. And I just loved it. I did a few classes. I started the weights and I really realized I really felt strong and really, really, really enjoyed it. And I was just doing machines. I had never picked up a barbell or dumbbells because I didn't really know what I was doing. They do have personal trainers at this gym, so that was nice. I could always rely on them, but I'm a little bit of I can do it myself kind of person. I learned I do need help sometimes in coaching, but so I was working really hard. I was going to the gym as much as I could. It was probably 3 to 4 days a week. And I usually stayed a good 2.5 hours because I loved it so much. Once I was there, I'm such a busy person that if I could be there, I was going to make the most of my time there. So I would go on the treadmill, I'd go on a bike, I'd go on an elliptical, which I don't typically, I have a treadmill and I use it, but I don't have those other machines at my house. And I was like, well, you got to do your cardio. And then of course I was like, oh, I want to do these machines. And I learned more and I learned more. And then I realized I was really gaining. I was moving up on the weights and the strength. And I was like, I really like this. And then we had been, we came on the cruise to the athletic panel, or what was that called? When you guys all sat up there and talked about.
I think it's the athlete panel with Cyrus and everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just loved, there was the bodybuilding, there was Cyrus, learning about the diabetes, there was the plant wise woman, there was you guys. And it all I love that kind of talk. It just really inspired me. So we got home, we started listening to your podcast. We had no idea that most of these presenters on the ship had books and podcasts and a lot of letters behind their names.
Yeah.
And so my husband and I started really digging into Fit Vegan, and he goes, you know what? Why don't you give him a call and see what it's about? And I was like, I was just apprehensive because I know when I do something, I go all in. I knew I had to have time, and I don't have a lot of extra time. But the more I listened to the podcast, the more I felt comfortable to know most people were like me. They don't have time. They needed help. And so he's like, just call and do a consultation. It's free. Why not? So thankfully for him, he's like, the best thing we can invest in is our health. This will be good for both of us. We'll learn a little bit more. The one thing I was not as aware of, and I heard people coming to the cafe talking about this the last couple of years, but I really didn't dig deep into it because I was more about healing the body when the body's sick, and or even not, just for people, for anybody. Our cafe is for anybody, but the whole macro word, what is this macro world? So after I joined the gym, and then after I was on the cruise, like I didn't want to start counting things and have it be about calories and having to get on the scale, because mentally it can bring you back to places you don't want to go that you've been in your younger years. So I was really, really apprehensive about that. But then I was like, all right, you guys gave some tools on some apps to follow to, learn how to do that, learn where your body needed to be. So once I started, I really found it a little bit of a challenge mentally, but as the journey went on, I learned it to be more of a tool to learn from rather than something to obsess about. Because it is easy to obsess about it. I'm going to say but I learned so much about myself and about foods and about, even though I knew where proteins came from and where the fats come from, like to see it on paper or on an app and to really like dissect it and learn my body. And I've really been trying to help people now. They'll say, I don't even know how to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'll try to help them. Little steps. I also will send people to you guys too, because you're the experts at it and I can only do so much, but I'm always willing to help people and sit down and say, if you need help, I'm here for you. So so I talked with you guys and here we are 8 months later, 7 months later.
It's definitely, it is a bit of a learning curve at the beginning for sure, especially when it's never something that people have done before. It's very, I would say the process is very math oriented, but then to get the results is very more of a psychological journey than an actual math process to get there. But, anytime we change, let's say how we eat, because you're already eating whole food plant-based, but anytime we change the structure of how we eat, it does demand more effort. Because like you said, there's a new learning curve where like we can have the same foods, but just in different proportions so that we can get a different outcome than we've been wanting. I'm curious. So at the beginning, besides the food, was there any apprehension to doing an online program? Because you mentioned that you are newer to the gym and that there was some trainers in person there. Maybe you've used some like marathon coaches for training before, but was there any apprehension of like doing it online and like doubting if it would work or not? Because I think that's a lot of thoughts that people have.
Oh yeah. And I wouldn't say like, would it work? It was more like, am I actually doing the things correctly? So yeah, thankfully, having a coach, you can send videos. I probably don't do it enough. I probably could do it more. I do have a son that played college baseball, so I'm able to ask him from time to time, pointers or ideas or toot my horn a little bit. But yeah, so he's been helpful. My husband he goes to the gym. So, I still like to be like, I think I know how to do it, but sometimes I definitely need some correcting and learning. And yeah, I mean, the online thing it's worked. I think that there was so much more than just, the workouts, of course. There's so much more support. And in that you get one coach. In the end, you really have 4 coaches, because you have a team of people that we have through our Zooms every week, a couple times a week, that you can ask questions. You can, you can bounce ideas off or get information from. But yeah, that more intimate relationship with the coach, it was nice to have that. And I really respected. I am able to, or was able to work with two coaches. And at first I was a little apprehensive getting a new coach, but after that mental mindset went away, I was like, how amazing that I get to have two coaches on this journey, that, I'm going to learn something new and different. And of course I got to learn who this coach was through all these different Zoom meetings too, that you guys hold. So, yeah, it's been cool. It's been a journey of, even though I've been in, May, June, July, August, September, like 6.5 months, I feel like I'm still learning. I feel like there's so much more still to learn. And my first coach had realized, so taking the body metrics, that was one thing that, was a great tool, was getting one of the scales that really show the body composition and the heart rate and whatnot. And she had seen my heart rate was starting to jump up. And she said, you got something going on here. Either your body's stressed or you're getting sick, so that was pretty impactful. I think that's something that you can't do on your own. You can't learn on your own. If I was just going to the gym and working out, I did not even notice that my heart was changing. After she brought it up, I was like, wow, it kind of scares you a little bit. But, I did end up getting sick, and my body was really stressed. And then I realized when I came back to the gym after that, it took a while to balance it out. Going to the chiropractor, she said, could your thyroid be off? I'm like, you know what? That crossed my mind, and I think that's what's happening. I got on a different supplement and tincture that I had taken before, and I, for whatever reason, stopped, and everything balanced back out. I took a rest, which is really hard to do.
It is hard to do.
It is.
It's a type of personality thing, and I think we attract who we are. So we have a lot of very type A perfectionistic people, because I'm a recovering one too. So you're not the only one.
Yeah. And I'm being hooked up with Coach Ellen at first. I mean, her and I have very much a very similar journey, with the foods and different challenges we've been through in our body. And so she could really understand, so much more internally of, when I would say things. So yeah, it's cool how it just all happens. And now with my new coach, I feel like I'm being pushed to a whole new different level. And of course we're working on something different too, but it's been neat to be able to see how we change things and how the body changes with it, and how the information, the feedback we get from it is really important.
Yeah, the body is highly adaptable depending on regardless of the stressor you put on it, it'll adapt to whatever that stressor is. So if it's lesser than what you're used to, you will become unfit to adapt to the easier stressor. If you put more stressor on it, it'll become fitter to adapt to the new stressor. And it's great because each coach has their own field of expertise. They're not all the same. So you always get a little bit of different bonuses from the coaches. And what you said about the video, it is the most, and I say this in every podcast since the beginning of me doing this company, it is the most underutilized part of the program, is people submitting videos for form and feedback on their form. It's just, I know I can be a bit awkward, especially if you're training at the gym, to film yourself, because then you're that influencer. You're filming yourself working out, but people don't know it's for a feedback form video. So I'm curious, when you came in, because you were, again, it seems like you're well surrounded with your husband and your son with some strength training knowledge, but you were still maybe 2 months into this new gym membership when you kind of started strength training. Mm-hmm. What were some of the tools that you got access to that were really helpful to kind of set you in the right direction towards your goal of improving your body composition?
More like the physical ones, like the scale and some of those things, or just anything in general?
Anything in general. I'm just curious so that people listening can be like, oh, you know what? That might be helpful for me too.
Yeah. Well, some of the more because it'll be a little quicker, more physical things, was that Withing scale. It was really cool. It's not expensive. I think it was like $100, and we just decided it was a tool that for the rest of our life, it's going to really give us information and feedback. So having that lean muscle mass, the BMI, the heart rate, body fat percentage, like what an amazing tool to learn where your body's at. Like I think because I've never been a gym person, I've never had to think about that before. I've never been a sports athletic person. So that's a very awesome tool, whether you're in a program or not. And I think as we age, obviously we lose more muscle, more bone mass. That's the other thing that the scale will compute. And like I always say, like in anything, I was like, I don't know what to compare it to. And of course, everybody's like, don't compare it to anything, compare it to yourself. But, I guess it does give a little graph. And
you need data. Yeah.
Well, what I learned is I was so obsessed about it at the beginning, but now that I've been at it so long, and my husband for his career reads graphs, and he's like, well, look at the curve or whatever he says. And I'm like, oh, I had no idea. So it takes a while to get data, and, It's not a couple week journey. So yeah, that was very important. And then my first coach had me get some grips for the gym, for A, to help with the callousing, and B, to help with the wrist. So I don't know exactly why, but for some reason my wrists really did bother me, but ironically they're not bothering me anymore. So I think that I had a lot of muscle that I had to rebuild. I think a lot of my joints were taking over the
like the stress,
the heaviness of what I was doing. Yeah. And not even in the gym, just in my everyday life, just from things like once in a while, like I would pick up a glass and be like, oh, like it would just, I don't know. I had some wonky things going on with my wrists, but I have to say it helped me be able to really do better at the gym. And it gives my wrists a lot more support. And not only that, my coach had said, you'll be able to lift a lot heavier. And I think she's right. It really did help with that.
It's strong. You get stronger grip. I think most people struggle with that at the beginning, just because if you've never been a gym person, it's never really something that you've actively worked on, right? Unless you're just intensively like gardening or working in the yard or doing something when you'd handle shovels and tools that would force you to strengthen your grips. But for the most part, most people never have a concern over being like, I need to make sure I have a stronger grip.
Yeah. And I think I always have played piano and flute and doing hair and, doing the cafe. But I just noticed it was getting harder and harder to open jars or do those kind of things, where ironically, it's just like, it comes right off now, which who knew? So
that's a good win. Just opening your own jars.
I know. I used to tell my husband, you can't leave me first because I'm not going to be able to ever open a jar again.
Yeah.
I mean, in life, leave me, not like, leave me. So yeah, those tools were great. Kitchen scale is another great thing. Just to understand the food, understand the macros, understand the calories. I know it sounds like a lot at first, but it was a very important tool. To be able to exactly know how to judge what something is. I mean, you can get out a measuring scoop, but not everything works that way. So I feel like that was definitely a key tool to have. And then as far as the gym went, so like I mentioned, I was working out a lot. And what I found, and what you guys had when I listened to podcasts, was you did not have to work out that much to get results. And my husband
you're 2.5 hours in a gym.
Yes. And I mean, if I had time, I'd go. I love it. So, he goes, I think we can scale you back and give you more time again and, help you guys would be able to help me figure out how to manage that in a more appropriate time frame. So at the beginning, it was a really hard mindset to get out of not being there as much and assume that my body was going to cooperate. And so I think one thing I learned with Coach Ellen was we had to actually not motivate me. We had to learn how to demotivate me and scale me back and take breaks and slow down and take more of a reset. And so that was hard. I had to learn that.
Was there any fear in doing less workout and you regressing in the results that you have gotten before?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was like, how can we work out 3 days a week and move
For how long
forward?
do you train now? How long do you train per session?
Like, I'm probably there an hour with a
So,
warm up and the cool down, and yeah, yeah. And
so
I tend to
more than
like,
half.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, it is an interesting mindset to adopt, and I think a lot of people that are very entrepreneurial, very driven, that want to, when they set their mind to something, they'll go for it. A lot of the time is they're going to overdo it and then burn themselves out. And then they're on pause or on hold for a while until they feel better. And then they go back at sprinting again with the same methodology that led them to feel burnt in the first place. And it is,
Hmm.
I share off on some of the group calls, like being black or white. Learning to live in that gray zone in the middle is the secret, but it is so challenging to be like, yeah, I want to go, but like not go for as long and as hard as I really want to do it. It's
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, I enjoy it. I'm finally challenged. At the beginning, I felt like I said, I'm not going to lie, I'm doing more stuff at the gym than what you're giving me because I had to learn how to. So then she put me into like some stronger lifting heavy.
Mm,
And like, give me a little more, give me a little more. Then I said, okay, don't give me more, give me another day. Cause my schedule opened up a little bit for the summer where I had a little more free time. And then after I had that extra day, it was like, yep, get in, get out. I'm good. And now I'm on a different type of set where I'm like doing more reps and I'm like, holy cow, like this is a lot harder. So now I'm relearning how to mental that game of more reps, less weight after I've been lifting heavy. And yeah, there's been so many mental journeys through this that it's been fun. Like I don't ever get discouraged. I just am like, okay, this is another hurdle. This is another thing my body's learning. And yeah, I feel stronger and stronger. I feel healthier and healthier. And I was already healthy. I was already strong, so to speak. But I think to see how the body is changing, I've never had the muscle. I've never craved the muscle. I think I definitely grew up in the skinnier is better kind of mentality. And now I think there's a neat shift to see that, strong and muscle and health and wellness and the insides and the mental, like we're living in a great time where, there's a lot of awareness on that. So I'm really happy about that. I'm hoping that it just keeps going and, there's not a lot of pushback on that. And then understanding that the plant-based journey is so important for all of that to happen, to recover, to live, to, hopefully not create illness. I mean, illness can happen in many ways, and sometimes it happens, but what we fuel ourselves with and what we do in life is what, it all adds up to health
yeah.
or not.
So I tell people eating plant based is like putting a seatbelt on in a car. Not guaranteed not to die or get hurt in a car accident, but you're greatly reducing the risk of it happening, right? Um, No, so it is one thing that we've been putting a big focus on is trying to teach women, over 45, over 60, 50, 60, 70, 80, the importance of strength training. Ivy and I were just in Breckenridge, Colorado, and one of our clients, Marsha, was there, and she was early 60s, and she said, "It's like I grew up in the era where it's Pilates and like yoga and everything, and it's not like strength training and muscle and feeling strong."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I wish I would have done this like 30, 40 years ago because you feel so
Mm-hmm.
good. Once you feel the strength, you're like, ooh, this is addicting. I like this feeling. I don't want it to go away. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when did that feeling kind of kick in for you where you're like, oh yeah, I'm strong. This is fun now. I like this.
It's just seeing the weights that you could increase. It just anytime I increased them, I was like, wow, that's really impactful. And then the more that you can do that, of course, the more you just feel better about yourself, and you're like, it's then you start to kind of feel unstoppable. And um, I didn't have a big problem with feeling sore. I tend to recover really, really quick. Maybe the first week of the new workouts, you know, you get a little,
Yeah.
it doesn't last long for me. It's not bad, but yeah, I would say learning something new always inspires me too. Like I kind of tend to take it and run with it. So it was exciting to learn something new. I know when I've had other people are noticing now, they're like, or they'll say like, things are changing and I'm still work out and I still, you know, I'm eating healthy and they're like, I don't know what to do anymore. And I'm like, strength train, you got to resistance train. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. And we got to count the macros. I'm like, if you do those two things, everything is going to get back. You're going to get back to where you were and you're going to see changes. And I'm like, if you need help, if you need support, you know, I can help find you those people.
Yeah. It's, I say a lot of people are doing the right thing, but they're not doing the optimal thing. Like you can eat whole food plant-based and do some exercise like hiking, Pilates, yoga, cycling, running. You can do all of those things. Some people even go to the gym and they'll just jump from machine to machine, but without any structure, without any progressive overload, without properly tailored nutrition, you're not going to see the results as fast. And or you can just be stagnant, which at the end of the day, that could be a win if you're not going back and put on 20, 30 pounds. But in order to move forward at a certain rate that is psychologically motivating to want to continue going, then there's a strategy to do that. And love what you shared about the macros and the scale earlier and kind of checking the food. Like obviously we don't want people to weigh all of their food. Like there's certain foods that you can weigh in or use cups or whatever to kind of measure. But it is such a educational process to like see what, you know, a portion of sweet potato is. And you're like, oh, that's it? I thought one portion was like, you know, all these sweet potatoes like on those Costco ones that are really big, you know? I think people learn a lot on calorie density, even though it's whole food, even though it's clean. If you eat, especially if you eat, like we don't do raw vegan. So if you eat cooked foods, even if it's whole foods, you can pretty easily overeat on your calories. Like some sweet potatoes, some quinoa, some dates, some mangoes. You put some, you know, some edamame, beans and lentils and tofu and tempeh. Like that adds up pretty quickly, you know? So you have to be strategic about it. Once you started being more aware of like your food in a proportion, what was a food that you're like, oh my God, like this is so high in calorie and I didn't think that I would have to worry about this food?
Definitely oils and
Yeah.
nuts. I would say protein, I didn't really like focus on. I assumed I got a lot of protein before. So I learned that I was probably way under proteining and way over fattening myself in those categories. When we were on the cruise, a lot of it was no sugar, no oil, no salt. And I was sitting at dinner with a woman who was friends with the SLC and she does some of the cooking segments with them. And I said, can I ask you, why is everybody doing no oil? Like, it was just not something that I obviously came across yet. And she said, well, it's the calorie density. And I hadn't yet started digging into the whole calorie thing on the cruise. Like I just, you know, you got to hear things a few times to really go, okay, let's explore this. Let's, you know, learn more about it. So once I started tracking, you know, I wouldn't say I used a ton of oils, but even just in the cooking, you just take a big scoop of coconut oil was kind of it's my go-to or was my go-to.
300 calories right there.
I'm sure. Yeah. I never sat down and tried to figure out where my life lived like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ate a ton of fruits and vegetables. I didn't eat a lot of fruits. I actually, that'll be another topic that maybe we can talk about, but yeah, so the oils, we don't do hardly any oil anymore and I don't miss it. I've learned how to cook with broths, you know, more healthy fats now. Yeah. And then just learning portion, you know, I think I already had a self-awareness of portion control. And when you're eating whole food, plant-based, you do get full pretty quick. You know, you're not overstuffing yourself. You're not putting in empty calories. So, I I've always been a big eater. So I feel like I still can kind of eat like I did. I would say it's more the little snacky things you grab for, like those handfuls of nuts or the nut butters. Like those were my go-tos. And I've learned that I can still have them, but in a very controlled moderation. And what I've learned is moderation is different for everything for everybody. So, that word is very broad.
Yeah. It depends what you're training for. It depends what your goal is. It depends your own personal stats. Are you 5'2" or 6'4"? Like there's so many, how much muscle do you have on your body, which would allow you technically to eat more food. There was at one point, just for the fun of it, ate some apples and almond butter. And I was like, let me just eat the snack, but in the portion that I feel like where I'm full. So I weighed the jar before just for the fun of it. And I just put almond butter on apples and I ate a whole apple. That snack with the amount of almond butter that I put on one apple in those slices, I was at like 600 calories with one snack, right? Just for like what I deem was like a good amount of almond butter per slice. So the calories can go up. Again, almond butter is great for you, just, within a certain control, depending on how much you can eat. And oil is, I'm definitely not an oil-free person. I'm a minimal oil. If I'm cutting, like a tablespoon of oil is the same as like 2 cups of strawberries. If I'm hungry because I'm dieting, I'd rather have 2 cups of strawberries and like a little thing of oil just so my food looks a bit more crispy, So that's why we have air fryers now. It makes it so much easier on the lower calorie content. I wanted to ask you kind of the similar question, but in terms of exercise. What's an exercise that you are, like 1 or 2 exercises that you're proud of how strong you've become, like where you lifted something, you're like, oh, wow, I can't believe I did this weight.
Oh, a lot of them.
Squat 500, deadlift 400.
Well, a little more.
Yeah.
Well, in my program, I haven't had to go on machines a whole lot, but every now and then I'll go back on a machine just to like see where I am. So I was able to do like on the leg press machine, like 240 pounds.
Nice.
On the leg raise, like 185. But now that I have to do 12 reps of that, I have to scale back and I'm down. Like, but I can do that. So I'm relearning that. So, but yeah, I can deadlift like 115 pounds, which I don't think I'm at my max. I think if I had somebody standing there next to me to be like, make sure you're, got everything in the right position, I think I could probably do another 15 pounds, but I'm just being really cautious because I've had some disc issues, and the disc issues don't come from the gym. They come from previous to the gym. So I'm just, and I did tweak my disc again during this journey. So I had to, back off a little bit in time there, but was able to come back up to that. Yeah. Some of the arm curls just with the dumbbells, like 20, 25 pounds, able to do some pull-ups. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. It's really good.
Yeah. Or the arm raises, I can do 20 pounds for sure for five reps. Now I've had to go down to 15 for the 10 reps. I mean, I understand that's hard. So I'm always like, I don't know, is this easy? It's hard. Because I look at a lot of people doing it at the gym and then they're like, well, they're doing it, so it must not be. But I'm comparing myself to men, just like Ivy.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you do like Ivy. Ivy's in competition with men in the gym, and the men don't know they're in competition with Ivy. So she'll be like, I used 20 pounds and he was only using 15. I was like, yeah, I know this guy. He was warming up, but it's okay. You're definitely stronger.
Yeah. Or my son will say like some of the, I don't remember where you take the rope and you go like this. And I think I was doing like 90 pounds or something. He's like, there's men that can't even do that. I'm like, really? So I don't know. There's a lot. I really think I have found that the machines aren't something I need anymore. I really like dumbbells.
Free weights.
Yeah, I like those. I like the barbell. Kind of makes me a little nervous because I don't always feel. I'm getting there. It's getting easier.
Yeah, and then honestly, the dumbbell, like machines have their place depending on if you're getting started, muscles aren't firing
Yeah.
properly, there's imbalance, all those things. But dumbbells are great for keeping the body balanced, because if you have 20 pounds in each hand, there's no way to overcompensate with the other side,
Yeah.
versus a machine. You can push more with the right side and it's still going to move
Yeah.
technically. So it is great to build balance, especially, right? Like if you do split lunges as an example, and you're walking down the stairs and you miss a step, regardless of which leg you miss a step, they're pretty much going to be the same strength and you'll be able to catch yourself.
Yeah.
So there's definitely benefits to that. In terms
I
of
thought of one
physical
more
change,
thing that I can really
yeah.
lift well is the kettlebells. The farmer carry and the suitcase carry. I can do 90 pounds in each arm.
Oh wow! So you carry 180 pounds just walking around? Nice. Hey, that's almost my body weight. You can pretty much carry me, basically.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
strong.
it's getting easy. I'm going to get up to that 100-pound soon.
Well, then you'll be carrying more than I think. I'm like 190. So once you do 95 on each side, just so you got Maxime and you're just walking around basically. Yeah. So I was going to ask, in terms of physical changes, because obviously when we train for improvement in body recomposition, we notice certain areas of our body getting tighter, certain, muscles, energy, things like that. Like, what are some of the changes that you've been able to see so far?
A lot. Definitely some muscles in some areas I didn't even know. Like, I think I had commented to somebody once, when I looked at people's muscles before, I literally looked at their bicep. Like, I didn't look at all the other things. So I see a lot of back muscles. I see a lot of like these muscles.
Lats,
Yeah. Or just like my quads, how they're shaped now.
I get the
Obviously the
teardrop.
arms.
So it's called the teardrop. The two, yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. I enjoy seeing that. Never thought I would, but you work hard for it. So I think that you want all that hard work to show and pay off for sure.
Yeah, there's a sense of pride, and I don't know if you do this, which I'm gonna say that most people do this. When you walk past like a mirror reflection and you catch like a little bit of lines on your tricep or on your shoulder, they go like, "Oh wait, this is my arm. This is my shoulder. This looks great."
I know,
Ivy
right?
definitely does it.
At the gym, I'm like you just want to wear a tank top everywhere you go.
Yeah. You catch yourself in the mirror. It's like, who's this jacked person? Oh, wait, that's me. That's my reflection.
I know. I've had that. It takes you by surprise. It really does. And then when people stop you just in a store and they're like, I've had that a couple times, like, wow, your arms are really great. And like, normally I'm just like, I laugh it off, but a couple times I was like, thank you. I've worked hard for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Take the compliment.
Yeah. And, it's not to say like anybody in this journey, like you don't have to work. I push myself a little harder than, maybe I need to sometimes, but not like, I love it. And I know just from being in the group, there's a lot of people. There's Judy in her 70s. Like, she's got these
crushing push-ups,
amazing arms and doing these push-ups and just, yeah. And I'm sure many people are, unfortunately, we don't all get to be in the same room at the same time and do that. We can at some point, but
yeah, or in the workshops in person. Like Vancouver was fun to see if like people bench pressing and squatting and deadlift.
Oh, that would have been so awesome.
Yeah,
I chose to stay with you guys 4 more months. Way.
Well, 2026. 2026. Right. We're gonna do one. We're aiming for Cabo. Just to make it more of a destination, because I've already been to Vancouver. I think Cabo would be more fun, to be honest with you. So I was going to say, like, it seems like, how was the community aspect for you? Because you just brought it up here with like Judy and everyone else. Like, was that something that you knew you would value, didn't think you would value? Like, how was that experience for you?
Well, I didn't even know it was an option when I started. Sometimes you just hear about the whole program and, I'm thinking, I'd just like to lose a few pounds and learn how to not be in the gym so much and move forward and get results. So yeah, the whole program in general, I don't know how many members you have, but in the Zoom calls, there's usually 4 to 12, probably an average of 8, 3 nights a week, not mandatory, but I have found that I really, really look forward to those. I tend to be on the younger side of most people. If, most people don't know, it's 50 to 80 something.
Pam is 86. She's our oldest member. Yeah.
And yeah, I think hearing other people's stories, and not that everyone tells their stories, but you get little bits week after week, day after day of, hearing what people are struggling with or going through, or, in the end, everybody's a real person. And, you have people that are way busier than I am that are, in listening to the podcast, like how they have found time to get those workouts in. There's so much support in helping with, say, like protein powders, or how to travel and how to pack for traveling, or how to find restaurants, or how to navigate a family meal, or one of the coaches is about food psychology. And I found that one to be very helpful for myself. I felt like I was kind of over the worst of the head game of years of conditioning of what's good and bad, but she really broke apart why we've learned certain habits and certain terms and what restrictions we put on ourselves, and how you can just kind of come into it neutral, and not let those stifle your mindset. And I found it didn't take much for me to let those go, to hear those things and be like, you're right. Why is bread bad all these years? And I've kind of assumed it was the bad guy. I'm not going to say I never ate it. I almost never ate it because I don't do gluten, but I had found this bagel, and I was like, there's a certain day of the week. Well, there's a couple days a week where I'm on the road all day and it's harder to eat. And I was like, you know what? I can make my tofu patty that I make myself, and then I can do this bagel. And I'm just like, if it works in the macros, and for me, it's all about obviously the ingredients and stuff too. But I was like, said, thank you. Like, that is the one thing that I was like, wow, there's little things like that. Or at the beginning, like having to eat more carbs. Like, we kind of grew up in an era where carbs is the bad guy. Well, same as the bread, but the rices, the pastas. So I was very, I always did a lot of vegetables, and I was very controlled about those. And now I eat probably as many carbs in a day as I would have eaten in a week before. So that's just something that, it's definitely a journey to retrain your brain for, and it's not like you guys are trying to retrain our brains. You're just trying to give us a healthy mindset. So seeing people's vulnerabilities, it's not all food related, but it's been a neat support system. And then there's also the chat, the typing that we can, talk to each other, not personally, but on a group page. And everybody's so supportive and willing to help and dig. And I just always love helping people myself. Like, if I'm not helping somebody, I feel like I'm not doing my job. So I tend to chime in a lot, and whether it's just a compliment or just try to help find a resource or whatever, I do like that. I used to use it as my walking time, and now it's getting cold and icky. So now I use it as my cooking time. And it's been great. It's a great community and a great program and a great support system. And I feel honored I'm in it, and I feel honored that I can hopefully now share it with so many people and help them realize, like, in the end, it comes down to healthy lifestyle, healthy living, longevity. Like, I didn't really think about, I came into it a little more vainly, but my mindset has changed. Yeah. I hate to say it, but I was growing out of the clothes that I was normally used to fitting in and normally used to eating the same foods. And it was just not, things were changing. So to find out that just the resistance training was key, obviously working with a coach was key, because they know what muscle groups and how to make the body adapt and how to change the program every so many weeks. So your body has to keep thinking and keep learning and keep growing. And then, coming in with learning how to, you guys are able to help get you at that right calorie content for your body. And what nutrients need to support that, what macros, what proteins for the muscles, and then how to now get back to a maintenance stage of, real life living again, and hopefully jump back into, the life we know and the new life we have, and
with more food.
navigate. Yeah. I mean, I'm not up to my full calorie range yet. And I mean, this is another mental thing, which I know a lot of people in saying it, I don't want anybody to feel bad, but as you start to get more calories allowed, it's a little stifling. Like, how am I going to eat more calories? Like, I really enjoyed the calories I was on. Yes. At first I was like, this is hard, I need a snack, but my body adapted. And now every time I have to up them, I'm like, where am I going to put the calories? How am I going to consume them? And after I started getting up there, I was like, well, I'm going to try more oil on my not more, but just add some in. And then I was like, I don't really need it, so, now maybe having a few more nuts again, or making my breakfast a little bigger. I tend to, because I'm busy and I can't always just sit down and eat fully, I eat until I'm satisfied, and then I might come back at half an hour later and eat more. I tend to kind of stretch things out. But I also am a big eater, so I don't want to feel like I'm hungry after I'm done eating. And there are times when at the end of the day, you still have some calories left. And I remember watching one of the podcasts or one of the Zooms, and you said, do we get in our protein or do we get in our calories? And I was like, if I still have calories to eat those. And I'm like, I can't eat anymore. So I'll mix up a little protein powder with, some almond milk and maybe a little bit of cacao powder, and get an apple and or carrot or something like that, or just eat it by the spoonful just to get those calories in. And so it's a navigation process, and that's where the coaches come in handy, and our little group tribe comes in handy. And there's so many there's so many benefits to being in this group. Another one is all these very professional educators, from doctors to health providers, that like the one thing I was going to bring up with Cyrus and learning about the diabetes. I really, really learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from all of them, but I honestly believe that I was having blood sugar issues, and I knew it, but I didn't know why. And in saying earlier, I was eating all those fats. Now I understand why my blood sugar, I was eating mostly vegetables with a lot of fats. I would make a smoothie bowl, and I'd be throwing in avocado and nuts, and I was creating so much fat in there. And it was actually, I'd be exhausted 2 hours later, and I'm like, I've had no fruit. I know I haven't raised my blood sugars, but I know that there's, a lot we could talk about that, but learning a lot about that. And now I've been really sending Cyrus's name to a lot of our customers at the cafe, because a lot of people are dealing with that stuff. And we just don't understand it's a fat issue. It's not necessarily a fruit issue. Let's not call it a sugar issue, but a fruit issue. So I was really afraid of putting bananas in my diet again, because I was really, really struggling. And with having Lyme's disease, the more sweet things you eat, the more it can affect your joints and it kind of reactivating things. So I've always been really conscious of that. And I can feel the difference if I eat too much of, too many sweet things, even if it's not fruit, but I just tend to have to be really, really careful. So that was really awesome. The Dr. Loomis the other night was amazing. I just loved his talk. That's just totally my thing. Who else did you have? You had the gastro woman. You had Chuck Carroll. Yep. Yeah. I hadn't dug into Chuck Carroll's podcast and whatnot, but my husband had before that. He knew him, not knew him, but so that was really awesome. So yeah, it's just neat how many people you're able to bring to the group. And I'm always sharing the knowledge that I'm learning from you guys, and those, finding them on podcasts and say, hey, I've got a podcast that you can listen to help you understand the diabetes, or help you understand the gastro, or help you, somebody new to definitely another piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, and I just pulled up the list of people. So we had Robert Cheek, Dr. Matthew Nagra, Dr. Joel Furman, Colleen Patrick Goudreau, which is Joyful Vegan, Chuck Carroll, Dr. Cyrus Gambata, Dr. Angie, and then James Loomis was the last one that we had last week. It seems like you've had a lot of phases of learning as you progress
A
through it.
lot. Yeah.
And I think the one that you're on right now, reverse dieting, where basically you're speeding up your metabolism back up to a maintenance level.
Mhm.
It is, to me, I think people struggle more with that than the actual fat loss, because I think most people are used to being in a calorie deficit if they have any attempt at losing weight before. But the principle of we're going to slowly add more food until you eat a normal amount of food that you should be eating to maintain the results that you've gotten. I think it's daunting for people because like, how can I eat more food but not put on like 20, 30 pounds of fat, right? Like that doesn't make sense to me, because I think most people, I say 99.9% of people, have never gone through a reverse dieting phase. But
Mhm.
your stomach does adapt, just like your body does adapt to training, where that amount of food will be a normal amount of food. And it's highly beneficial because being in a deficit is stressful on the body. You're basically telling your body, like, hey, we're exerting all this energy every day and we don't have enough food coming in to sustain that. The body freaks out a little bit. But if you do that for months and years and potentially decades on end, people wonder why they start to get sick. People wonder why they start to
Mhm.
feel weak, why they start to lose muscle. Like it's highly detrimental to stay in a calorie deficit all year round for years and decades on end. So
Mhm.
I'm sure you're starting to notice potentially a bit more fullness in your training, like a bit more strength than when you were at your peak deficit for your body recomposition. But as you continue to eat more food and get closer to your maintenance, you'll feel more and more like Superwoman. Like it's a great feeling once you get to maintenance. You feel so strong.
Yeah, I haven't yet achieved that because when I was doing only the 5 reps, like
Yeah.
I didn't tire out. I feel strong. So now I feel like I'm being bumped back because I'm being stressed in a different way. So I'm waiting for those extra energies to give me more. I'm always an energy person. So unless I'm literally, my body's exhausted, I usually don't feel tired or stressed. Um, so yeah, but I know it's going to be life changing when it happens.
Yeah. And there's
It's still
benefits
new.
to training different rep ranges, to train different muscle fibers at different
Yeah.
times. But definitely going from like a 5 rep to like a 12, 15 rep, so beneficial. But I hate it so much because it just feels like cardio at that point to do that many repetitions. You're just like out of breath a little bit from doing that many reps. Um, but again, you are forced to use lighter weights. Obviously, you can't keep the same amount of weights for the amount of repetition.
Mhm. Mhm.
One, I say, two last questions I'd love to ask you. One is, do you feel that this process has been sustainable for you?
Oh,
And I
100%.
mean that in like, do you feel like we've screamed at you because you needed to be perfect the whole way through, or if you missed a workout, or if you messed up on your nutrition? Like, do you feel like this has been sustainable process for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You guys don't, there's never why did you do that or get back on it. I mean, so you had a bump in the road, win the next meal, win your next workout. Um, I think I'm harder on myself. I'm sure most people are than you guys
Yep.
will ever be.
We don't need to be.
Um,
You're going to do it yourself.
yeah, I'll make sure I get my workouts in if it kills me, kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely nothing to be scared of. It's very, very doable. If you can't hit the gym, maybe you don't have a gym nearby, you guys make it work that you can do it at home. I know when we went on vacation, at, it's kind of always one of those things. I'm on vacation. Like, why would I work out? Because my body
Oh, it
needs a
felt good.
rest. And then we were going to leave, and I'm like, I don't want to rest. I want to still be able to work out. So, contacted my coach, and I said, well, what can I do? And she said, go get some bands, and then, you can adapt your workouts to the bands. So yeah, my husband had to sometimes hold more resistance on the bands so I could, either lift him off the ground or whatever I
Yeah.
had to do. Um, so that was neat. but yeah, you guys are, I know there's people that, maybe can't even get out of a chair, and you've been able to help them get to that point and then some. Or like people that just are starting in their 80s. I just listened to the last podcast with Nick and
Paul.
Yeah. How inspiring was that, so yeah, I think it's never too late. Anything can be reversed. I think you just have to be consistent, not perfect, and just follow the advice and trust the process. It's definitely one that you're going to doubt here and there, but yeah, I guess science doesn't lie, and I'm not a numbers. I don't have to, have all the statistics kind of person. I'm more like, even when I did my first marathon, my chiropractor said, you got to trust your body. Like, I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be able to do it. He's like, you've done all the training. You're going to show up at the start line and nothing's going to hurt. Cause I think the closer it got, I take a lot of stress on in my physical, in my body.
Yeah.
And he was right. I did my first marathon with a tweaked disc, and he said, you're going to show up at the finish or the start line and you're gonna have no pain that day. And I was like, I can't even get to Florida right now. How am I going to do that? And he was right. It was the motion I had to do wasn't going to affect my back, thankfully. But the stress wasn't helping anything. And he's right. Every marathon I've done, I'm scared up until the day I start. I'm scared for the first 6 miles, and then I trust myself. And then as I'm doing it, I get stronger and stronger and faster. And I don't tend to hit a wall. I don't tend to slow down. I tend to trust that the process is going to work. So I feel like it's the same thing with Fit Vegan. Like, I was afraid to go to the gym. The first time I had to do the real, to me, I'm going to say real workout, something that was given to me by a coach. And I'm fortunate that the food thing was very easy for me. I know food is that's not an easy step, for a lot of people, because it's comfort, it's familiarity, it's change,
emotions.
It's stress. Yeah. So I've had to do all that a long time ago. So, but I did get to learn a lot on a different level, enough that I'm thinking of tweaking some things at our cafe just to cater to people that are like me, that we've already been kind of catering to and customizing for, but let's get an actual different line of things going that can help support and be more aware. I've been doing all the macros on all of our items, and not ready, but soon I'll be ready to kind of help people out with that. But I don't want to, in saying that, because I know my own journey of being a little apprehensive about learning about the calorie counting and all that first, because, if we've ever been there where we've tried to really cut our calories and tried to lose weight and I don't want to create a mental head game where somebody's coming in and seeing all these numbers and they're like, well, I'm not going to eat that, because it's nutrition, it's information, it's how we have to fuel the body, and everybody's body's going to be different. And, just seeing something like how a man can eat versus a woman, it's not fair, but it is what it is, on what we can and can't do. And shouldn't say you can't do it. It's just in a different moderation or a different learning setting, a learning process. Yeah. So I'd rather be able to talk somebody through that and not have them just shut down by seeing a number. Because once again, I can customize it. Like, you want to take out some calories, let's just take the dates out, or, whatever.
Yeah.
We have to customize a lot. That's the part I just love about helping people is let's make it for you.
Yeah. And you can just make it like upon request for the calories so people can know, because there's definitely a lack of education out there in the world of, like, if you see a wrap for 600 calories, people will be like, oh my God, that's so many calories. Well, if you eat 3 of those a day, that's 1,800 calories, and that's your maintenance, then it's not a lot of calories. It's perfect. It's relative to how much else you're going to eat in the day. It's not on like a per meal basis. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. Where were we? Cheesecake Factory, because we were eating with my mother-in-law and she doesn't eat like whole food plant-based. So we went there so she can have something. And oh my God, it was like a burger of some sort, like a portobello burger, whatever, with sweet potato fries. It's like 1,300 calories for a portobello burger with fries. And I think it was a busy day that day. It was one of my 2 meals for the day. So that was less than half of my calories. So I was like, okay, whatever. Again, not the most ideal, but not the end of the world because it's less than half my calories for the day. But if I would have had normal food throughout the day, then it would have been put me over. Then it's way too much. So I think people are missing the context upon which where that meal fits in. Because
Right.
yeah, you can make a dish for 600 calories, but be packed with vitamins and nutrients and fiber and extremely good for you. But people would have that fear just because it's a larger number than the skinny products that they see at the grocery store of like 100 calories or 150 calories. So I'm happy that you being through this process is going to help you serve and impact more people through your cafe and through your community. And that's what I've liked about the work that we've been doing, is working with people like you and doctors that are like, hey, you know, composition of your nutrition and of your body is really important. Maybe you should do resistance training. And it's never a concept that they had encountered before. So I'm
Yeah.
happy that the impact goes beyond, just you. Um, and actually, one last question I had for you. I'm sure that you are just like most people, like myself, where you want to preach whole food, plant based. Have you found it easier to do it now that you've built more muscle and gotten fitter? Like, do you find that more people come to you versus you going out and telling people?
Um, I'm no, only because I've been on this journey for a while. I think it changed once I opened my cafe.
Okay.
Then I got a little bit more credibility in the sense of like, oh, okay, they could see my passion for educating and helping. And
Yeah.
um, so not a lot changed for me that way. I think it's more just, well, I haven't really been around a lot of my, friends and family. The holidays will be coming up and it'll be more
That's when you'll see
obvious,
it.
I guess you'd say. Yeah. But I've always like, if I host meals or holidays, I always cook whole food, plant-based. If somebody wants gluten or alcohol or whatever, they have to bring it. I'm not supplying it. I don't support it. And I don't want it in my house. So
Yeah.
if they want that. And so, it took a while to, I would say all my family and friends understand that, I have to be careful, and they now trust my foods. When I put on a holiday, it's a massive spread, and every the other side to that is every time we travel, I do all the cooking for whoever we visit, whoever we're with. And it's kind of a joke because they're always like, you're eating all the time and I can't eat again. And then they go home and they say, I lost weight. I don't understand
Yeah.
how I lost weight. And I'm like, so, they feel it in 1 week. We have to sometimes eat a lot more at restaurants that I would like, not that I'll say no to the other ones. I just then I'll bring my own food. But so yeah, I think I've been able to live that long enough now that wherever we go, we just pack a cooler, bring it along. I think that my husband, from time to time, will have people say to him like, "Now tell me what you were doing again." We're kind of like, it's such our lifestyle that we're always kind of in that mode and talking about it. So I think it's more so now people come back and say, remember when you told me about making smoothies? Or I started incorporating that in my diet, and I do that with the customers at the cafe too. So maybe I'm just always doing it, and I don't even no aha moments. It's just part of who we are.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. I love that you're having that impact on outside. And it definitely, for sure, the cafe. And I always tell people, if you look the part, people are going to ask questions, right? It's undoubtedly people are going to be inspired and want to know how you did it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I lied. Last question for you. What is, for someone that is just beginning their transformation with us, um, what is a piece of advice that you would have for them? And secondly, was it worth it for you?
Yeah, I think the first piece of advice is just do the consultation call. That's for sure. I mean, that definitely helps set your mind at ease. For me, listening to the podcast, I would take walks, drive in my car. I would listen, just to your previous podcasts, because you have a lot of people on like me, and everybody has a different story, a different journey, different, different things. I think that helped make me feel a lot more comfortable because I understood more what I was getting into. And then I think as far as the foods go, because that might be something that is very scary for people to change. There is a whole nutrition recipes that you guys do give, where it'll literally, you don't even have to own a scale. You can just make the recipes. They're given out for the whole week. You can make them all in one day or take it in 2 days, and it's all portioned out. I only did it 1 week, and I realized that's how I cooked. So I didn't really need to, I used it as inspiration, like, oh yeah, I'll throw some whatever extra something in there. But I never really worked with tofu. I was really afraid of soy. Mentally, I was afraid of soy. So I had to learn also how to reprogram my brain on thinking of that. So, so I was really not good at that at the beginning, but learned about the air frying and different ways that I've learned how to make soy and tempeh and tofu. It's not more expensive in the eating, the food side of it. You kind of are getting back to the basics, and you're not buying any packaged foods. Once you buy your quinoa, your lentils, your rice, your potatoes, they go a very, very, very long way. It's not just one meal's worth. They sometimes can go a month or more. And then some of your, obviously your spices are going to go a long time. I think in the end, I always say it's all the same foods. It's just the flavors you put with them. You can make it Italian, you can make it Mexican, you can make it Indian. It kind of just gets back to the basics. The leftovers are amazing, and you'll feel full. You won't be starving. And, hopefully you haven't starved yourself to the point where, you're going to have to maybe just take it a little slower to build up, or maybe you realize you're way up here. And then I'm sure you guys don't just go, okay, we're going to take away 2,000 calories on you. You kind of, you work through all those stumbles and hurdles. And I remember the popcorn thing, how you had somebody eat a lot of popcorn because they loved it, and you got them to,
be tired from it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to admit, I loved popcorn at the beginning too, and I would eat it. And now I'm at a different stage now where I don't think of all the in-between snacks anymore. But yeah, nothing to be afraid of. I think, for most people, we've kind of lost what real food is. So it's going to get us back to eating real foods again. That inflammation is going to go away. You're going to sleep better. Maybe some skin issues are going to go away. Some digestional issues are going to clear up. And then hopefully you have a support system, of somebody who understands eating healthy. Cause sometimes, that's hard when you're doing one thing in the household and your other family members don't want to join you. So all of these recipes could be adapted. You could, say if they're meat eaters, you could add their meat, make your dish, but add, in their proportion, add their meat. And, I used to tell people, if you order a salad at any restaurant, it's plant-based, obviously if you don't have the egg or, the meats on it, but it doesn't have to be a fancy term. It's just getting back to eating from the ground, thinking about what goes in our body, and you won't starve. You're going to be educated. You're going to be supported. You're going to find people in your community, might live right in your community, or you'll be able to meet up with. I know a lot of people get a chance to meet up on vacations and whatnot. I think the hardest could be a challenge. And once again, it's just reframing the mind is the comparison thing. So I know when you come in and you're new and it's all new and you're listening to people, and I know I remember hearing one person talking about all these steps they were doing. And like, that wasn't even a conversation I had with my coach about doing steps, and it wasn't on my checklist. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm supposed to be doing all these steps. I had no idea. So then I was doing it. And then my coach is like, okay, we're going to back you off. You don't need to be doing so much. We need to slow you down. You need to take a rest. So it was all relative. So like,
Yeah,
you guys are good about saying, don't compare, like don't compare that I can lift a 90-pound kettlebell. Like you may never get there, like I've been working on certain things to get to a certain point, and everybody has their area. But I think that everybody is so supportive and we've all, been through it. And there was a call last night with a woman, and it just happened to be me and this other woman, Ramona, and Alex. And Alex is one of the other coaches. And it was just a really, really neat conversation. And Alex has such a way of bringing out a beauty in things, when he's can highlight certain things. And it was a really neat conversation, which hopefully everybody can go back and listen to at some point. So yeah, it got, sometimes some of the conversations can be very, get deep and personal. And other times, they're just, the coaches will say, I have a topic. Do you guys, want to talk about a certain topic? Do you want to just bounce things off of each other? And some nights, we get educated, and other nights we just all need to be there for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think that's the most important part for people to know. It's custom to each person. That's why that person had steps and you didn't. That's why, and again, when you talk to someone, you don't know how long they've been in the program for. They may be at a different level. So that's why it's important to just be inspired, but focus on your lane, basically.
Right.
So was this program, was this process worth it for you? Do you feel like it set you off on a different trajectory?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely came in not only for losing weight, or let's say, you learn that the skinny fat, I think that was happening. The muscle was going away and things were compositioning in a different direction. I wanted to learn not only for myself, but to be my own test guinea pig to actually learn for my customers. So that was one goal I had at the beginning. We had just started doing some group meetups with our cafe, and the first one was really well received, and they're looking forward to another one. So I'm anxious now to do more talking about, the second stage of life and what we need to be thinking about and how to do that, and bringing in some of the right people to talk. I feel like there's the experts out there, and they're the ones that can help along. But yeah, for the value, for sure. I feel like I know when I'm going to be done with the journey, I'm really going to be feel like I'm missing a part of my life with it, because it's been really such a support and such a learning tool. And I'm sure it's natural to feel like, where do I go from here? Who's going to help me along the way? Even though I know I have all the tools, and I think I really, really appreciated the coaching in the gym, the getting a workout. And I think with what I would have, if I would have stayed doing what I was doing at the gym, I'm sure I would have kept with it. But I don't think that I understood that we have so many muscles in our body, and how they all, by doing one movement or two movements or a certain set of movements within a workout, how many muscle groups you're hitting, and how important they are all to connect and work together and strengthen. And I, very easily could have been overworking one, and then, maybe something is pulling and creating more injury
Imbalance.
Or risk. Yeah. So I think that there was so much value to so many levels of, not levels, but topics of what was offered. It really is priceless. And I think the value of monetary is, it's hopefully going to pay off now, and you're not going to have to put that times 10 later down the line into your health, trying to figure out how to reverse things and get them back, and hopefully not fix disease and fix mental and fix physical. And, there's just, as we age, a lot of stuff happens, and we may have to be the people to help out other people in time. And that's when I hear somebody really struggling with their health, that's where it gets me. Cause I just like, it can be so simple isn't the word, but it can just be like, bring it back to the basics, and you're gonna, but people got to get there. I had to get there. I was just like everybody else. Yes, I was more aware, but I know when I got sick, everyone said, "You're the healthiest person I know. How did you get sick?" So there's a lot of things that go into that. And my husband was definitely, without his support, it would have been a different journey for sure. So I was glad that even if at home you don't have that support in time, hopefully your family will see that you're doing well and you're making progress, and you're going to inspire them, and they're going to get more supportive. And if not, you have a whole group here online that is there for you, and you can reach out to anybody at any time. And, usually there's a lot of help there.
Yeah. No, there's a few core actions that need to happen, but there's complexity within the simplicity of the actions that you need to take. Mm-hmm. And know what you said about hopefully down the line, you don't have to try to get your health back and kind of fix it. Like, as you know, I'm Canadian, so it's free healthcare. So being in the US and having had to visit the hospital a few times because of the concussion and basketball injuries, oh my God, is it ever expensive? I can't even imagine if you're having like heart issues or anything like that, what the bill would be like. It's insane. So I think people definitely need to take care of their health, even if it's just like walking and eating whole food plant-based. That's not even ad resistance training. Like, start to get better, because hey, you're talking 20, 50, 100 plus K for a hospital bill on some of these diseases that you would have control over if people change some of those actions. And my hope is that obviously we can't be with someone forever. And we don't want to. We want people to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So ideas like you come in, we change the direction that your life is heading in, we equip you, we basically, hold your hand, and then you crawl, walk, and eventually you run. And then when you are running fast enough or you're cycling, we remove the handle. You're wobbly a bit while you figure it out, but eventually you can kind of continue and cycle on your own. That's the whole idea behind it. And I'm excited for you, because I know that you're looking to do potentially a bodybuilding show once you're done your reverse dieting. So that's very interesting that's why I love doing these podcasts, because you came in heading this direction and then we just tweaked the degrees a little bit. It's like, now we're doing a bodybuilding show. Like, that's crazy. So I think it's going to be a interesting experience for you. And I hope you have a great experience with it. You enjoy the reward of it. And just the best thing I would say as a piece of advice is remember everything you've learned with us, because the bodybuilding world, and again, just for context for people, she's not going to do her bodybuild prep with us because we don't have any coaches that prep people for that. It's not the thing that we're experts at. Keep a healthy relationship with food. Remember to reverse diet after, because I gained 50 pounds in like 3 weeks after. So reverse diet, take your time after you're done your show. That'd be my biggest piece of advice.
What I'm looking forward to is, seeing, how much the body will adapt, and learning, it'll be a whole nother emotional learning game. But what I've just kind of learned just from listening to different podcasts and stuff too, is like, as being whole food plant-based, I think we're going to get to eat a little bit more than those that
most
aren't.
people.
So I don't feel like it's going to be that hard. I know that you just have to be a little more aware, and, we'll see. I like a good mental challenge. So I'm just going to give it a whirl.
Well, I'm excited to see your stage photos once you get there.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Me too.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I still have my photos from my first show. It's a cool thing to be, you know what, I've done that. I've ran a marathon or I've accomplished something. It's just like a running a marathon, basically. It's a cool event to do at least once. But yeah, Tanya, I really appreciate you for, for taking the time to record with me and share your knowledge. I know you said a lot of things that I'm like, oh yeah, people are going to connect with this and be inspired by that. So very excited for people to listen to this episode. Also, I'm really proud of you. It was so cool getting to meet you first before coming into the program and seeing your transformation go through, and now this new direction that you're heading in, and knowing kind of what that takes to be there. I think it's going to be, you're going to have to, there's be some learning curves, I think is the best way to put it,
Mhm.
to navigate that. So I wish you all the best with that. But right now, let's
Thank you.
focus on finishing the reverse dieting, get you to eat a ton of
Right.
food so that your prep for bodybuilding is a lot easier.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. It's been amazing. I would never hesitate to have anybody come in the program and not get to where they want to be, as long as they can just put in the work, and it's not unrealistic work. So it's just everyday life. You just kind of up in the game a little bit.
Awesome. Well, and thank you very much for jumping on. Everyone, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for listening to this episode, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.